Okay, you need to brace yourself for this build because I had to. Thinking about making this made perfect sense. Now hear me out. The maximum amount of points you can allocate to any stat in Wo Long is 99, right? Well, I have pretty much 75 in both the fire and water virtue. That's only 14 points shy of the max. Looking at this, you are definitely not spread too thin. On top of the fact of how you're able to embed both attributes on all your gear. This means that both weapons and spell damage will hit equally hard. So I'm going to describe a way to make this build plain and easy, but there's nothing plain about it. In fact, it's pretty broken because you can play however you want to and be completely successful while doing it. If you want to go the stealth approach, you can with back-to-back fatal strikes, or utilize the ferocity of the fire virtue and destroy enemies with a sky piercer. That's your choice too. You can be a wizard 100% and use spells that destroy your enemies from a distance, or finally be a pure archer with the damage you'll deal with your bow using the long range distance damage dealt from the water virtue with the damage scaling the bow has. Now real quick, I'd appreciate a like on the video. If you enjoy what I do, also consider subscribing to my channel to help me reach my goals. Now I just want you to take a look at how I destroyed Lu Bu in NG Plus in 2 minutes using pure spells on the side of water, and 3/4 of his health was taken while he was on his horse. This one fight speaks volumes as to what only one half of this build can do.
Fly, red hair. Red hair. It is rare that you desire blood so. Don't get carried away. You are no mere soldier.
Let me tell you about the weapons I'm using, and I'll begin with water. I'm using the Treacherous, a straight sword first wielded by Xiao Yuan, who is an expert bowman by the way. I'm using this weapon for a few reasons. One being that this is one of the only weapons that have A scaling in both fire and water, so you get the damage bonuses for both, but also because it's the first piece of the set I'm using for the gear in this build, but I'll get into that in a second. On the Treacherous, I have ice enchant with damage dealt, ice attack power, and flame attack power. This is the advantage of having 5+ mythic weapons. You get more slot options to embed. Damage dealt is awesome for most builds, but especially hybrids. It increases all damage dealt on the build and doesn't discriminate. This includes wizardry spells and range damage. So for hybrids, it's a must-have because it scales the overall weapon damage based on your percentage you have. That's why it's so important to have A scaling in both fire and water, which the sky piercer also has. It happens to be the secondary weapon I'm using, and as you know, this thing wreaks havoc. If you don't believe me, go check out the Lu Bu build I made recently and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. Now let me talk about the gear because this is insane. I'm using Xiao Yuan's full set. It's called the Armor of Rushing. I honestly did not know how good this set was until one of my viewers put me on it. It's the #1 choice for if you decide to make a build cater to ranged attack, because the set bonus grants almost 14% ranged attack damage, and you know as well as I that this number is insane. I added 4% to make it a solid 20 because, as I said, I wanted everything else to have damage dealt on it, which still increases bow damage by the way. One day I want to make a long range only build, and this Armor of Rushing will definitely be my first choice. Now on the gear, I made sure to prioritize flame attack and ice attack power with a few special effects that amplify damage and slow the enemy upon using a martial art. I'll show you the stats real soon, and my bow is the one I get from Xiao Yuan, and for my secondary I have a 5-star crossbow. But get this, every time I perform a fatal strike, I retrieve +3 ammo guaranteed straight into my inventory. So I'll always have whatever arrows I need all the time. Remember, the water side of this build allows me to perform fatal strikes on anyone, or just simply parry attacks. Of course, you can only use one divine beast at a time, so it's really a choice which one to go with. I alternate between whichever fire and ice I choose at that time. Now here's where things get even more amazing, and that's with the wizardry spells. I have 2 fire and 2 water. To start, I'm going with amplified damage, of course, which is probably something I use in almost every build. I use it to begin most fights or just before using a fatal strike. Then blasting fair, specifically for when enemies get too close and I just destroy them using it, or to create space. It's really good for AoE. Next, I have frost lance. This is great for enemies like archers or bosses that always try to create space. This is really good especially against enemies that are weak to water. And finally, ominous chill. Some say this is situational, but I think it just takes the right timing to pull off. Pretty much every large boss is susceptible to huge amounts of damage when using it on them. And that is really all I have to say about this build. It's multifaceted in so many ways. It's the first hybrid build I've made in Wo Long, and this really has inspired me to explore these type of builds more. Now I know that you have made some next level hybrids that I'd love to hear about in the comment section below. Also tell me what you think about this one I've made. Stay tuned for more to come in the future. And if this helped you out in any way, like the video and subscribe to my channel if you're new here. I'll catch you in the next one. Be right out.
In the club, we throw G's, taking blue hunters with more. I'm getting cake, baby, I'm serious. It's not a game.